The next chapter is lipid lipoprotein metabolism. The first question is, discuss the metabolism of plasma lipoproteins which have a pathogenetic role on development of atherosclerosis. So in development of atherosclerosis, LDL has its role, specifically oxidized LDL. So now reading about the LDL metabolism. LDL is a cholesterol rich and accounts for 70% of plasma cholesterol. Each LDL contains about 1500 cholesterol ester molecules. It is formed from VLDL remnant of IDL, intermediate density lipoproteins. LDL transport cholesterol to peripheral tissues. Formation of LDL. A small portion of IDL is catabolized after intake by liver. However, a major part of IDL is converted into LDL by the further removal of triacylglycerol from IDL. There is possibility of the role of hepatic lipase in the LDL formation. According to some studies, IDL are taken up through LDL receptor. Their triacylglycerols are further hydrolyzed by hepatic lipase, which has low Km for triacylglycerol, to convert them into LDL. They are then resecreted into the circulation. Hepatic lipase is present on the surface of hepatocytes and its release is stimulated by heparin. It acts on triacylglycerol and phosphoglycerides in VLDL remnant and IDL. It does not act on chylomicron and VLDL. Importantly, it also does not require ApoC2 for its activation. LDL catabolism. Majority of LDL, approximately 70%, is metabolized by liver. The remaining 30% are metabolized in extrahepatic tissue, particularly those requiring cholesterol for producing steroid hormones, adrenal cortex and sex glands, and vitamin D synthesis skin. LDL catabolism take place after uptake through LDL receptors. These receptors are also called ApoB100/ApoE receptor because they show affinity to both ApoB100 and ApoE but not ApoB48. LDL receptors are present on most cell surfaces in clathrin-coated pits, but they are more abundant on liver cells, adrenals, sex glands, fibroblasts, smooth muscles, vascular endothelial cells, and lymphocytes. Structure of LDL receptors. LDL receptor is a large transmembrane glycoprotein coded by 945 kilobase pair long gene having 18 exons. The mature functional receptor has 839 amino acids and is organized into 5 domains. There are 5 domains. The first domain is a ligand binding domain, which binds to the ligand. The ligand binding domain is in the amino terminal region. In this domain, a 40 amino acid long sequence with some variation is repeated 7 times. Each repeat, referred to as class A repeat, has 616 residues which form disulfide bond within the repeat. It has conserved acidic residues also. The negatively charged side chains of acidic residues interact with positively charged side chains of the basic residue of ApoB100 of LDL. The ligand receptor binding requires calcium. Second domain has 2 types of repeats. 3 homologous repeats similar to epidermal growth factor, 6 repeats similar to beta transducin unit are present between second and third EGF repeats. Specific aspartate residues with negative side chains from the transducin repeat are important in interactions between different parts of this domain. This domain has a role in dispelling the bound LDL after internalization. Third domain has O-link glycosides attached to serine and threonine side chains. These act as struts to keep the receptor in extended form for optimum function. Fourth domain is hydrophobic transmembrane domain. Though this domain, the LDL receptor is attached to membrane. Fifth domain present inside the cell is 50 amino acid long. It participates in endocytosis of bound LDL. LDL uptake and catabolism. LDL receptor is present on cells in clathrin-coated pits. LDL binds to its receptor through ApoB100. The complex is internalized and forms an endocytosol. It fuses with lysosome to make endolysosome. The hydrolases in lysosomes degrade the LDL, that is its proteins, into amino acids and cholesterol esters into free cholesterol and fatty acids. The LDL receptors are not catabolized and are returned to the cell surface. The cholesterol inside the cell is used for various metabolic purposes such as membrane synthesis, production of hormones, bile acids, etc., or is stored after esterification. Regulation of LDL receptors. LDL receptor mediated internalization of LDL is an important mean of cellular cholesterol intake. Hence, depending on the cellular cholesterol requirement, LDL receptors expression is subjected to active regulation. Whenever the intracellular cholesterol level decreases, the LDL receptor gene expression is induced, leading to increased LDL receptor expression on cell surface. That is, upregulation of LDL receptors. This ensures the increased intake of cholesterol by the cell. Similarly, whenever the intracellular cholesterol concentration is high, LDL receptor gene expression is repressed, leading to decrease in number of LDL receptors on cell surface, downregulation of LDL receptors, and decreased cholesterol intake by the cell. LDL receptors on macrophages. Macrophages, which play an important role in atherosclerosis, take up cholesterol in many ways through LDL receptors, scavenger receptors, and phagocytosis. Uptake by scavenger receptor is unregulated and can lead to excessive intake of cholesterol by the macrophage, forming a foam cell. Foam cells are deposited in the arterial wall below the intima to form earliest atherosclerosis lesion called fatty streak, which progresses to become plaques. These plaques are not reversible because they go inside, they pierce the intima and goes inside it and gets deposited there. LDL cholesterol is bad cholesterol. About 30% LDL cholesterol is metabolized in peripheral tissues, steroidogenic tissues like testes, ovaries, adrenals, etc. So if there is hypercholesterolemia, this LDL cholesterol delivery to tissues increases. It may lead to atherosclerosis. LDL cholesterol, LDL-C, makes up about 70 to 75% of the total serum cholesterol level. A positive correlation is seen between plasma cholesterol level and incidence of coronary artery disease. So high LDL cholesterol, LDL-C, is associated with high CAD prevalence. In this sense, LDL-C is called bad cholesterol. The second question is, explain the basis of dietary advice you would offer to a patient with coronary artery disease. So if there is a patient with coronary artery disease, the dietary advice we give is that to increase the high density lipoproteins in diet of the cholesterol intake. We advise him to increase the HDL and decrease LDL. So the basis of this is LDL functions to transport cholesterol from liver to peripheral tissues, whereas HDL functions to transport cholesterol from peripheral tissues to the liver. In atherosclerosis, there is cholesterol deposition in the arteries, leading to blockage and decreased blood supply. So if there is increased HDL, the cholesterol deposited will be less, which will be moved back to the liver. Hence, there would be less chances of progress of the disease. The third question is, describe the formation, composition and metabolism of chylomicrons. Here we have chylomicrons and everything about it. Chylomicrons are synthesized in the intestinal mucosal cells. They transport the exogenous lipids, dietary lipids, for utilization to peripheral tissues like heart, muscles, adipose tissue, kidneys, mammary glands, etc. VLDLs are synthesized in the liver and transport endogenous lipids, hepatic synthesis like triacylglycerol, cholesterol, etc. for utilization in peripheral tissues. Both chylomicrons in VLDL contains triacylglycerol as major lipid, though phospholipids, cholesterol, esters, etc. are also present. Chylomicron synthesis and secretion. Dietary lipids after absorption are resynthesized into triacylglycerol, phospholipids, cholesterol, esters, etc. in the mucosal cell. They are packed into chylomicrons in the intestinal mucosal cell for transport to various tissues. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum is the site of synthesis of lipids. Apoproteins are synthesized in rough endoplasmic reticulum on ribosomes. ApoB48, which is necessary for chylomicron formation, is incorporated into chylomicrons in smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and then it goes to Golgi bodies for addition of carbohydrate residues to apoproteins. The chylomicrons are then secreted by forming a secretory vacuole and its fusion with plasma membrane into the intracellular spaces. It then enters into the lymphatic vessels and then into the systemic blood circulation. Catabolism of chylomicron. Chylomicrons are rapidly metabolized in peripheral tissues, mainly by muscles and adipose tissue. Heart, kidneys, and mammary glands also catabolize them. Half-life of these lipoproteins is from a few minutes to 1 hour, and larger particles are catabolized faster than the smaller one. Nascent chylomicron secreted into blood contains ApoB48 and ApoA. After entering into blood circulation, it requires ApoC2 and ApoE from HDL, in which they are present as peripheral proteins. After acquiring ApoC2 and ApoE, it becomes a mature chylomicron. During catabolism, the triacylglycerol of chylomicron is hydrolyzed by the enzyme lipoprotein lipase (LPL). This enzyme is present on the surface of endothelium of blood capillaries and peripheral tissues. It is anchored to the endothelial cells by heparan sulfate chains. Lipoprotein lipase is absent in liver, which however contains a different lipase called hepatic lipase. Lipoprotein lipase requires phospholipids and ApoC2 for activation as cofactors. As the chylomicron comes in contact with lipoprotein lipase, it provides both phospholipids and ApoC2 and activates the lipoprotein lipase. Activated lipoprotein lipase hydrolyzes the triacylglycerol present in chylomicron. The released free fatty acid and glycerol are taken up by the tissue for use. Due to hydrolysis of triacylglycerols, chylomicrons become smaller in size. Their triacylglycerol content decreases substantially. The relative concentration of cholesterol and cholesterol esters increase in them, that is, they become cholesterol rich. ApoC is also returned to HDL during this process, but not ApoE. These particles are now called chylomicron remnant. Heart lipoprotein lipase has about 10 times lower Km for triacylglycerols than adipose tissue. So at high triacylglycerol concentration in plasma, both heart and adipose tissue use triacylglycerol and hydrolyze them. But when the concentration of triacylglycerols is low, only heart can use triacylglycerol due to the low Km and not adipose tissues. Thus, at low concentration, TAG uptake is directed from adipose tissue to heart. Similarly, TAG uptake is redirected to mammary glands during lactation. Fate of chylomicron remnant. Chylomicron remnants are taken up by the liver through receptor-mediated endocytosis. The uptake is mediated by ApoE specific receptors. Both LDL receptors and LRP, LDL receptor-related protein receptors present on hepatocyte, can bind chylomicron remnants through ApoE present on it. Once bound to these receptors, chylomicron remnants are internalized by endocytosis. They are finally degraded by lysosomal hydrolases. The constituents, mainly cholesterol esters and apoproteins, are broken down into cholesterol, fatty acids, amino acids, etc. Hence, much of the dietary cholesterol is delivered to liver in this way. The fourth question is, describe the synthesis and metabolism of HDL and LDL. Add a note on disorders of lipoprotein metabolism. The metabolism of LDL we have already discussed. Now we will see the metabolism of HDL in one diagram. So this is the diagram. Here the HDL, which is formed from both liver and intestine. From the liver, the nascent HDL which comes out has A1, C and E apolipoproteins, and from the intestine it has only A1. Then it combines with C and E afterwards and forms the nascent HDL discoidal shape with A1, E and C. Then it is acted upon by an enzyme called LCAT, which binds to the nascent HDL and is activated by ApoA1 present in it. This LCAT enzyme is activated by ApoA1. Now, when LCAT is activated by ApoA1, it acts upon nascent HDL and catalyzes the esterification of free cholesterol. The free cholesterol, it has phospholipids and free cholesterol, so it catalyzes and the free cholesterol is esterified. So the esterified cholesterol moves and lysolecithin is removed. in the plasma, and the esterified cholesterol then moves and results in the circular spherical HDL3 molecule, in which more triglycerides are added from the peripheral and adipose tissues. The HDL3 receives cholesterol from peripheral tissue through SRB1 and ABG1 receptors and becomes larger and cholesterol rich and phospholipid rich. Now, when it gains more TAGs, the bulkier molecule, the more denser molecule is HDL2. It has more cholesterol than HDL3. This HDL2 molecule has different fates. First, it's delivered the cholesterol and phospholipids via SRB1 to the liver. It may deliver phospholipids and TAGs by binding to liver and then subsequent hydrolysis. So overall it removes HDL2 and then forms HDL3. So this cycle is known as HDL cycle. By gaining HDL3 and by gaining cholesterol and forming HDL2 from HDL3, then in the liver losing cholesterol there and again forming HDL3. The next part of the question asks to add a note on disorders of lipoprotein metabolism. So this is one disorder of lipoprotein metabolism, which is A-beta lipoproteinemia. Due to genetic defect in the synthesis of ApoB, VLDL and chylomicrons are either not formed at all or formed in very immature and nascent form, quite unlike the true VLDL or chylomicrons. Hence, lipids accumulate in GIT and liver. The next question is regarding the role of HDL in reverse cholesterol metabolism. So, in reverse cholesterol transport by HDL, during HDL3 to and HDL2 formation, as the cholesterol esters move into the core, the free cholesterol in HDL bilayer decreases. This establishes a concentration gradient between peripheral tissues, which are rich in cholesterol, and HDL, which is relatively poor in cholesterol. This gradient guides the movement of excess cholesterol from peripheral tissues to HDL through several types of receptors such as SRB1, ABC1 and ABCG1. So what are they? SRB1 is scavenger receptor class B1. Scavenger receptor class B1 is present on wide-ranging tissues. It binds HDL through ApoA1 apoprotein. SRB1 has dual role, that is, in liver and steroidogenic tissues, HDL gives cholesterol through SRB1, that is, HDL cholesterol is influxed, whereas in other tissues, HDL gets cholesterol from the tissues through SRB1, that is, cholesterol is influxed into HDL. ABCA1 and ABCG1 receptor. ABCA1 and ABCG1 receptors belong to the class of ATP binding cassette receptors. These are a group of transport proteins present on tissues which bind ATP and use energy released by hydrolysis to transport a wide variety of substances across cell. ABCA1 is a member of this group and it mediates reverse cholesterol transport from peripheral tissues to pre-beta HDL mainly. ABCG1 is also a member of ABC transporter. It mediates efflux of cholesterol from peripheral tissues to HDL3. Pre-beta HDL is most efficient in reverse cholesterol transport as it is poor in lipids and is largely composed of apoprotein A1 only. Similarly, in the case of nascent HDL produced by intestine. The next question is, explain why high levels of lipoprotein A make a person prone to CAD. So what is lipoprotein A? Lipoprotein A is similar in structure to LDL and contains an additional protein ApoA linked to ApoB100 of LDL by disulfide bond. This ApoA is different than ApoA of HDL. Lipoprotein A is considered to be genetically determined and an independent risk factor for atherosclerosis and CAD, coronary artery disease. Indians are believed to have higher levels of lipoprotein A and so high risk of CAD. High levels of lipoprotein A greater than 20 mg per deciliter are associated with high risk. About 40% Indians have higher levels. ApoA and lipoprotein A is similar to plasminogen in structure. 80% sequence is same. It competes with plasminogen for conversion to plasmin, which degrades fibrin present in blood clots. This is probably the reason of increased risk associated with lipoprotein A. So, the reason is that apolipoprotein A, apoprotein A or lipoprotein A of lipoprotein A is similar in structure to plasminogen. So it competes with it for conversion to plasmin. Plasmin degrades fibrin, so if it competes with plasminogen, then there will be less plasmin, then fibrin will be less degraded. If it will be less degraded, the chances of clot formation will be more, and the risk of CAD and atherosclerosis will hence increase. The seventh question is, what are the different types of lipoproteins? Describe their role in cholesterol transport. So these are different lipoproteins: chylomicrons, VLDL, LDL, HDL. Very low density lipoprotein, high density lipoprotein. Their functions are: chylomicrons transport dietary lipids, that is exogenous lipids, to the peripheral tissues, whereas VLDL it is synthesized in liver and it transports the endogenous lipids, that is the lipid formed inside the liver, to peripheral tissues. LDL it is formed from VLDL remnants and transport lipid to peripheral tissues. HDL it transport cholesterol from peripheral tissues to the liver. Question number 8 is, with the help of a diagram, illustrate the pathway of HDL metabolism. This has been covered in question number 4. So the next is, explain the role of LCAT in HDL metabolism. So role of LCAT is, in circulation, nascent HDL is acted upon by the enzyme LCAT, lecithin cholesterol acyl transferase, present in plasma. It is produced by liver. It binds to nascent HDL and is activated by ApoA1 present on HDL. It catalyzes the esterification of free cholesterol in HDL surface with a fatty acid molecule removed from surface phospholipids. This results in the formation of esterified cholesterol in lysolecithin. The last question of this chapter is, importance of HDL in cholesterol transport. So HDL, which is a good cholesterol, due to HDL and reverse cholesterol transport, it decreases plasma cholesterol and cholesterol in peripheral tissues including brain, heart, etc. This reduced cholesterol prevents atherosclerosis and decreases the chances of myocardial infarction and stroke. In this context, HDL cholesterol is good cholesterol. The next chapter is cholesterol metabolism. The first question, intake of fibers lower serum cholesterol, is discussed in chapter number 1. The next question, explain biochemical basis of use of statins in treatment of hypercholesterolemia, will be discussed in next question. So the question is, write mechanism of action of following: cholestyramine and statins. So both cholestyramine and statins are cholesterol lowering agents. The mechanism of action of cholestyramine is it decreases the bile acid reabsorption. It is a type of drug which decreases bile acid reabsorption and consequent increased excretion. This decreases cholesterol by compensatory increase in bile acid synthesis from cholesterol. So more cholesterol from the body, from the gut, won't get absorbed, and the cholesterol in form of bile acids and salts will also get removed from the body. Then comes the statins. Statins such as lovastatin, they inhibit HMG-CoA reductase activity. This enzyme HMG-CoA reductase is involved in the formation of cholesterol. So it decreases blood cholesterol by decreasing the synthesis of endogenous cholesterol by inhibiting HMG-CoA reductase. In the next question, which is, what are the important functions of cholesterol in the body? The answer is that cholesterol is a component of cell membrane. Along with it, cholesterol is present in our body in several forms. One form is cholecalciferol, which is vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 or cholecalciferol is synthesized in the skin from 7-dehydrocholesterol by its exposure to UV rays of sunlight. During its photoactivation, B ring of cholesterol is opened and undergoes rearrangement to make vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 causes hypercalcemia by increasing calcium absorption from intestines and kidneys and helps in mineralization of bones. Deficiency of vitamin D leads to rickets in children and osteomalacia in adults. Steroid hormones. Cholesterol is a precursor of various steroid hormones, adrenal cortical hormones, glucocorticoids such as cortisol, mineralocorticoids such as aldosterone, androgens such as testosterone, and sex hormones are produced from pregnenolone. It is generated from cholesterol by cleavage of side chain. Ovaries produce estrogen and progesterone, and testes produce testosterone. Next is bile acids. So examples of bile acids are cholic acid and deoxycholic acid. The next question is, discuss briefly the synthesis of cholesterol and how is the synthesis regulated. Then we have to add a note on familial hypercholesterolemia. So synthesis of cholesterol. Liver and intestines are the major sites, though all tissues and nucleated cells synthesize cholesterol. Enzymes are located in the cytosol. Acetyl-CoA is precursor of 27 carbons of cholesterol and all the 27 carbons are derived from it. There are several stages in cholesterol synthetic pathway. When important intermediates are formed, these are as follows: mevalonate formation, isopentenyl formation, farnesyl formation, squalene formation, lanosterol formation, and cholesterol formation. So reading about the steps. Formation of mevalonate. The formation of mevalonate is similar to initial reactions of ketosis. Its 3-acetyl-CoA molecules condense successively to form beta-hydroxy, beta-methyl glutaryl-CoA, HMG-CoA. The enzyme of cholesterol synthesis are located in cytosol, whereas the ketosis pathway is located in mitochondria. So this pathway is distinct than the ketosis pathway. The acetyl-CoA is provided by ATP citrate lyase, as in the case of fatty acid synthesis. HMG-CoA is then reduced to give mevalonate. This reaction is catalyzed by enzyme HMG-CoA reductase. This is also the main regulatory enzyme of cholesterol synthesis. So HMG-CoA reductase is the regulatory enzyme of cholesterol synthesis. It is also the target of many anti-cholesterol drugs like statins. Next step is formation of 5-carbon isopentenyl ring, then formation of farnesyl diphosphate, formation of squalene lanosterol, formation of cholesterol. In this, the lanosterol is converted into cholesterol in endoplasmic reticulum in a multi-reaction sequence. This involves following changes: methyl groups on C14 and 4 are lost to form zymosterol. Then the double bond at C8 and C9 is moved to C5 and C6 to form desmosterol. The double bond in the side chain is finally reduced to form cholesterol. So this is cholesterol synthesis. Now coming to the regulation of cholesterol synthesis. The rate limiting step is HMG-CoA reductase. The reaction catalyzed by HMG-CoA reductase is the rate limiting and regulatory step of cholesterol synthesis. This enzyme is regulated on both short-term and long-term basis. So steps like regulation of HMG-CoA reductase mRNA synthesis, regulation of HMG-CoA reductase mRNA translation, regulation of HMG-CoA reductase by enzyme degradation. These steps come under long-term regulation. And regulation by phosphorylation and dephosphorylation come under short-term regulation. So briefly reading about them. Short-term regulation is mediated by hormonal regulation of HMG-CoA reductase through phosphorylation and dephosphorylation. Insulin and thyroxine increase HMG-CoA reductase activity by causing dephosphorylation. Glucagon and corticoids decrease HMG-CoA reductase activity by causing phosphorylation. Under long-term regulation, it occurs by controlling the enzyme synthesis and degradation of HMG-CoA reductase. For example, increase cholesterol level to decrease synthesis at mRNA level. So high cholesterol, whether intracellular or dietary or its precursor, inhibits HMG-CoA reductase gene expression. Glucocorticoids and glucagon decrease activity, while insulin increases activity through cyclic AMP-mediated phosphorylation and dephosphorylation. Now reading about familial hypercholesterolemia. Familial hypercholesterolemia is rather uncommon. There is a defect in LDL receptor and its catabolism by liver and peripheral tissues leads to hypercholesterolemia. In the last chapter of phospholipid metabolism, there are two questions. First question is biochemical basis of acute respiratory distress syndrome and why it is seen more frequently in premature infants. So its answer is dipalmitoyl lecithin, which causes respiratory distress syndrome in newborn. Deficiency of this. Infant or neonatal respiratory distress syndrome IRDS is due to genetic defect leading to deficiency of lung surfactant production. IRDS is seen in about 1% of newborn infants. It is much more in premature babies, approximately 50% in babies delivered prematurely after 26 to 28 weeks of gestation than the normal 38 weeks and 25% at 30 to 31 weeks of gestation. Infants show tachycardia shortly after birth. It may lead to cyanosis and eventually ventilatory failure with apnea. More than 80% of alveolar surface of lung alveoli is coated by dipalmitoyl lecithin. This surfactant is produced by epithelial cells of alveoli in the third trimester of pregnancy, especially after 28th week of gestation. Before 28 weeks, lungs mainly produce sphingomyelin. Increase in lung surfactant concentration in the third trimester leads to increase in lecithin to sphingomyelin ratio, which is usually around 2 by the 34 to 36 weeks of gestation. This signifies the maturity of fetal lungs. The lung surfactant decreases the surface tension of fluid lining the lung alveoli and thereby prevents the collapse of alveoli at the end of expiration. Other lecithins that do not contain 2 molecules of palmitic acid do not lower the surface tension. Surfactant also contains phosphatidylglycerol, phosphatidylinositol, and many 18 to 36 kilodalton proteins called surfactant proteins. Maturity of lungs is evaluated by lecithin to sphingomyelin ratio, L/S ratio, which if less than 2 indicates surfactant deficiency. Surfactant to albumin ratio of 35 mg per gram or less, normal is 55 mg per gram, also suggests immaturity. Treatment is by continuous positive airway pressure, maintenance of fluid and electrolyte balance, correction of hypoglycemia, and prevention of infections. Steroids induce surfactant production and so are given to mothers who are likely to give birth to premature babies. Both natural and synthetic surfactant are used in treatment. The next question is, what are phospholipids? Name the products liberated on their complete hydrolysis. So phospholipids are a class of lipids whose molecule has a hydrophilic head containing a phosphate group and 2 hydrophobic tails derived from fatty acids joined by an alcohol residue. Phospholipids hydrolyze to give products such as fatty acids and glycerol 3-phosphate mainly, and groups like choline, ethylamine, serine, etc.